Have you ever wondered why the sound of a knock at your door can tighten your chest? Why the thought of unexpected company feels less like warmth and more like intrusion? Some women love a full house, overflowing laughter, voices colliding. Others, perhaps like you, prefer silence, the hush of your own thoughts. And somewhere deep within that silence, something ancient is speaking. Carl Jung might say your resistance is not rudeness, but revelation. That your aversion to visitors is not social anxiety at all, but the soul protecting its sacred rhythm. He might whisper that, when you recoil from visitors, you are not rejecting people, you are guarding a temple. In the mythology of the psyche, every home is a metaphor for the mind. The walls are boundaries. The windows are the eyes. The door, that is consciousness itself, the threshold between the outer world and your inner sanctum. When someone steps across that threshold uninvited, it is not just your living space that feels invaded, it is your selfhood. Jung would trace this feeling to the archetype of the hermit, the part of the soul that seeks wholeness through solitude. The hermit is not lonely, she is luminous in her quiet. She knows that silence is not emptiness, it is incubation. Inside that quiet grows intuition, insight, and power. But society, especially for women, often mistranslates solitude as something shameful. It tells you, be welcoming. Be social. Be pleasing. Keep your door open. And yet your heart insists on closing it, softly but firmly. Jung would say this is the conversation between the ego, the mask you show the world, and the self, the vast, eternal being behind the mask. The ego wants to be approved. The self wants to be whole. Their dialogue is your discomfort at the sound of footsteps approaching. Every closing of a door holds a psychological projection. When you say, I don't like having visitors, you may, unconsciously, be saying something else. I do not yet trust the world to enter me without taking something from me. Visitors mirror the parts of your psyche you have not yet owned. The friend who fills your living room with laughter you find too loud, she might embody your own repressed exuberance. The relative who overstays, he might represent your unhealed lesson in boundaries. The neighbor who drops in for tea, you may see in her your hunger for connection, buried under layers of self-protection. In each encounter, the external visitor mirrors an internal one. Jung called this projection, the tendency of the unconscious to reveal itself through others. Each visitor you resist carries a message from your deeper self, arriving unannounced, just to remind you what still aches to be integrated. Imagine your inner life as a house built from memory. Each room holds an emotion. A secret, a fragment of your story. The kitchen hums with instincts, the urge to nourish and be nourished. The bedroom carries your vulnerability, your capacity for rest and intimacy. The living room is your social self, the part you decorate for others. Now ask yourself, which room feels safest? Which room feels off-limits even to you? Many souls keep their deepest chambers unvisited for years. They light only the outer rooms, welcoming guests into small, polished corners of their being, while behind locked doors lie the silent hallways of pain, longing, or forgotten dreams. When you say you dislike visitors, perhaps what you truly fear is the reflection visitors bring. Because to host another is to risk being seen. There is a quiet truth beneath the preference for solitude. It is rarely about others, it is about how you feel in their gaze. Every visitor's eye becomes a mirror. And not all mirrors tell you what you wish to hear. Jung said that what you resist not only persists, it grows stronger. When someone crosses your threshold, your psyche begins a dance between defense and curiosity. You wonder, will they see the mess? The unwashed cups? The quiet sadness? The way some rooms feel cold? In truth, these external details echo your inner state. Visitors challenge your illusion of control. They reveal where you are still fragile. And yet, liberation begins the moment you realize fragility is not a weakness, it is the birthplace of authenticity. In many spiritual traditions, the feminine is associated with space, receptivity, and stillness. To protect that space is to protect the feminine principle within the psyche, the capacity to gestate new understanding, to hold silence until meaning forms. So when a woman says she dislikes visitors, Jung might bow his head and say, the feminine soul is remembering its sacred right to emptiness. Because creativity, insight, and self-knowledge all require fertile silence. You cannot hear the whisper of the inner world if the outer world is always knocking. Your soul, therefore, may not be antisocial, it may be pregnant with something it is not yet ready to reveal. To honor that is not isolation. It is incubation. Of course, not all solitude is sacred. The line between solitude and avoidance is drawn in shadow. The shadow, the unseen, disowned self, lives in the basement of your psychic house. It contains both suppressed wounds and untapped gifts. The longer it stays locked away, the more power it gains over you. If you avoid visitors out of fear, then your solitude is no longer a temple, it is a fortress. Fear builds walls where wisdom would build windows. Jungian work asks you not to destroy your defenses, but to light a candle inside them. To ask, what part of me still feels unworthy of being seen? Because every fortress began as a story of protection. Somewhere. Long ago, someone entered uninvited, they took, they wounded, they left. And ever since, your soul has guarded its door, misinterpreting silence as safety. But the art of individuation, the journey toward wholeness, means learning to invite life back in, not to consume you, but to meet you on your own terms. In relationship dynamics, attraction is born from polarity, the dance between approach and retreat, between openness and boundary. The person who values solitude carries an invisible magnetism. She seems mysterious, grounded. Her energy whispers, there is something deeper here. Yet, if the boundary hardens too much, the magnet turns into a wall. The Stoics warned of this: too much withdrawal and you lose the art of living. Too much openness and you lose your center. The balance lies in conscious choice. When you close your door, do it not from fear, but from sovereignty. Let the gesture whisper, I choose my inner world first, not because I fear yours, but because I am cultivating mine. To others, that confidence becomes an aura, an attraction beyond charm or beauty. It is the allure of someone who needs nothing, who welcomes only what resonates. That is not distance, it is magnetism refined into dignity. The psyche moves in seasons. There are springs of connection, summers of creativity, autumns of letting go, and winters of stillness. To dislike visitors in your winter is wisdom. Every soul needs its hibernation. But when the thaw arrives, when your inner world begins to bloom again, the trick is to gently open a window. The Stoics spoke of temperantia, temperance, as equilibrium. To live aligned with nature's rhythm means knowing when to be alone and when to step toward community. Both are necessary, both are expressions of love. You were never meant to live with your door either locked or wide open forever. You were meant to feel the seasons of your soul, and honor each one. Within every person dance two primal forces, the host and the guest. The host is the conscious self, orchestrating, controlling, greeting or declining. The guest is the unconscious, the unpredictable, the wild. The aspect of life that arrives without warning. When you struggle with having visitors, it is often the tension between these two energies. The host fears chaos, the guest carries transformation. And yet, without the guest, the host's house becomes static, a museum instead of a living space. Jung would say that individuation requires both, the order of the host and the renewal brought by the guest. The task is to invite only the guests that serve your growth, and to learn from even the ones who challenge your peace. Trauma often rewires the meaning of a knock. For the untouched psyche, a visitor is curiosity made flesh. For the wounded psyche, a visitor may trigger danger. It may echo footsteps that once accompanied harm. So your discomfort isn't irrational, it is encoded memory. The nervous system remembers what the mind forgets. When you flinch at intrusion, your body is simply saying, I know what happens when I'm not safe. The path of healing then becomes not forced exposure, but compassionate pacing. Shadow work does not demand you throw your door open to everyone. It invites you to slowly unlock it for yourself. Walk through your own house. Visit its rooms. Sit where pain lingers. Offer it tea. That inner hospitality restores safety, so that outer hospitality no longer feels like threat, but choice. At the heart of this lies the quiet lesson of detachment. When you stop needing others to affirm your openness, you free yourself. Jung saw individuation as separating from the collective hypnosis of approval. Many women are told that worthiness is warmth, that love equals access. But access is not intimacy. True intimacy begins where permission ends. To reclaim your space is to rewrite that conditioning. When you say no to an unnecessary visitor, what you're actually saying is yes to the rhythm of your own soul. You are learning that silence itself can be social, a dialogue with the self so deep it transcends words. The relationship between solitude and self-worth is almost inseparable. Those who fear being alone are often those who doubt their own company. Those who savor solitude understand their inherent value. When you no longer measure your worth by how often people knock, the solitude transforms from exile into empowerment. Jung believed that the soul's task is to individuate, to become an original pattern of consciousness, unafraid to stand apart. Each refusal to host superficial energy strengthens that individuality. So when someone calls you distant, perhaps they are only revealing how uncomfortable they are with their own unvisited rooms. You are not cold. You are cultivated. Think of life as a dialogue between two sacred directions, inward and outward. You inhale the world through experience, exhale it through reflection. But modern life teaches endless inhalation, constant contact, constant sharing, endless visitors, both physical and digital. To step away, therefore, is an act of spiritual rebellion. You honor the feminine Tao, the way of emptiness that holds fullness within it. As within, so without. If the inner world is chaotic, invitations to the outer world will always feel intrusive. But when your interior becomes serene, even the occasional guest feels like music instead of noise. As you grow in awareness, you begin to forgive the visitors of your past, the ones who entered without respect, the ones who left you distrustful. You begin to realize that they, too, were acting out their unconscious scripts, their own archetypes looping in time. Forgiveness does not mean you reinvite them. It means you stop rehearsing the hurt. It means your house begins to breathe again, free of ghosts. Each breath becomes a cleansing incense, rising through every corridor of your mind. You are not defined by who crossed your threshold. You are defined by how your soul rebuilt after they left. Eventually, the archetype shifts. The hermit slowly becomes the mentor, the wise woman who can open her door without losing her peace. She no longer fears guests, because she has befriended every inner visitor that once hid in shadow. Now she welcomes others not as demands, but as mirrors. She listens, smiles, offers insight, then returns to her quiet knowing. Her boundaries are not walls but luminous edges, transparent, firm, alive. And when new visitors come, she greets them with calm grace, because she knows she can close the door again without guilt. That is the essence of empowerment, to choose exposure without losing your center. The world may never fully understand those who cherish solitude. It may label them difficult, aloof, unapproachable. But Jung would call them the forerunners of consciousness, the ones who feel the tides of the collective and step back to keep their truth intact. To walk that path is not loneliness. It is leadership of the soul. You are not avoiding life, you are refining your lens so that when you engage, it is from truth, not compulsion. And soon, you realize that solitude does not mean being without others, it means being with yourself, fully. Presence is the final alchemy. The woman who no longer fears intrusion lives in quiet authority. She knows that her door, whether open or closed, defines nothing about her worth. She engages with others not to fill a void, but to exchange energy consciously. The Stoics would have admired her composure, the ability to be equally at peace in company and in solitude. Because emotional mastery is not about isolation, it is about detachment from outcome. If a visitor stays, she is calm. If they leave, she is calm. In both, she remains herself. That balance, between solitude and connection, silence and voice, is the true mark of individuation. So the next time you hear a knock, pause. Feel your heartbeat answering. Do not rush to open the door. Do not rush to hide, either. Listen. In that sound is a lesson. Maybe it's not a person knocking. Maybe it's life itself, asking, "Are you ready to meet me from wholeness?" And if your answer, for now, is a soft no, that too is sacred. Because the door of the soul opens inward first. Your dislike of visitors does not mean you are broken. It means you are listening. It means your spirit values depth over distraction, essence over noise. It means your soul is remembering its own interior language, the still, strong whisper that says, "You were never meant to let everyone in. You were meant to become the one visitor who stays." And in that moment, silence becomes freedom.